As a contractor, I don't pay for materials I don't use. So why would I pay for stuff I don't need in my mobile plan? That's why the new MyBiz plan from Verizon Business is so perfect. Now I can choose exactly what I want, and I only pay for what I need.
Right now, with MyBiz plan, get our best price, as low as $25 a line. Visit verizon.com/business to get started today. Price per month with 5+ lines. Includes autopay and paper-free billing and special intro offer discounts. Taxes, fees, economic adjustment charge, and terms apply. Offers end June 10th, 2025.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay, courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Hello and welcome to Fintech Insider Insights, live from Money20 Europe here in Amsterdam. I'm David Barton Grimley, Fintech Strategy Director at 11FS, and we've got a very special live episode coming up for you today. In fact, it's so special, we are currently sat in what I think is like a glass box in the middle of a conference space. The box seems to be dripping with honey, which is kind of intriguing. This is the first time for me doing this, but this is going to be a lot of fun. So today, in association with Adyen, we are discussing some of the pains experienced by SMEs and CFOs and how embedded finance can help make their after effects slightly less painful. Adyen have partnered with Spendesk to try and enhance spend management and procurement workflows for SMBs to try and counteract some of these pain points. So today, I'm joined by two people who can talk more about this from both Adyen and Spendesk. So first off, we have a Fintech Insider debut for Joëlle Bønding, VP of Vertical Strategy for Platforms at Adyen. It's great to have you on the podcast, Joëlle.
Thanks so much.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your role at Adyen?
Absolutely. So I lead our vertical strategy for platforms business. We work with platforms across different verticals, spend management, but also any other verticals from food and beverage to hospitality to professional services. And all of those SaaS platforms have one thing in common. They're looking to bring payments and financial services into their offering and make it part of their core value proposition. And so it's my job, together with our team, to grow that business for Adyen.
Awesome. That's great to have you on board. And we have another Fintech Insider debut for Stephane Dehaies, CEO of Spendesk Financial Services. It's great to have you on the podcast, Stephane.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you do at Spendesk and some of the exciting things you've been up to recently?
So very, very exciting things. So at Spendesk, we are building the future of the financial services, embedded finance, and for the spend management. So we are the leader in Europe for spend management, procurement. We, of course, help the CFO to solve their pain points, including the travel management issue, and also to improve the customer experience. And the objective is to build the best platform and the best services in financial services for the Spendesk with the leading European platform.
Amazing. All right. So I'm well aware that we are at an international conference where there may be a lot of people using Spendesk. And to full disclosure, 11FS is a customer of Spendesk and we love it. And we've been using Spendesk to manage our expenses and coming here. So that makes this conversation that we're going to be having quite timely, right? So let's dive in. To kick off the show, we will be looking at some of the problems that CFOs experience and the work that Adyen and Spendesk are doing through their partnership to try and alleviate some of these issues, right? So corporate travel is an area where spend management might be particularly problematic for CFOs and SMEs. And as we're attending an international conference today, I think it's a great place to start. So although corporate travel still lacks pre-pandemic figures, it's growing steadily, which shows that there are some issues which I think need to be addressed. And maybe I just want to kind of open it up a little bit to the both of you and myself for some experiences maybe we've had with corporate travel. I've had some terrible experiences in trying to book travel at a company. Joëlle, I'll come to you. What What's happened to you before?
Luckily, today I didn't need to travel far. I live in Amsterdam and I could bike here, so that was very convenient. But I think when we think of expense management and in combination with work, we all have these horrible scenarios in our mind, right? Like experiences that we had from the past. And I personally, when I just got out of job, I got my first job many years ago, of course, and I worked in the startup scene in Berlin, and I was to travel to the US, and I needed to book my accommodation, my flights, everything out of my own pocket. I didn't at that point even own a credit card. It's not as common in Germany to immediately, sign up for a credit card. So for me, that was a huge amount of upfront spend that I needed to do for the company that I worked for. So I just had to remember back at this pain that I, as the employee, needed to go through. And then, of course, coming back, I needed to bring all of the receipts, these crumbled receipts, right, for the water that I bought at the airport, and really actually bring it in person to our finance team home. And so I just remember that was a huge pain for me personally. And I think that's also the reality that we're going to talk about today, right? That is still something we all experience, that we have to manually reconcile our expenses from a work trip. And so, I think it is something that I think we all can somehow relate to from some point of our lives.
Yeah, and I imagine maybe even some of those receipts, maybe you lost or forgot,
Correct.
and therefore you're not getting paid. I mean, my experience is a corporate booking platform where, you have like a limit. The company will say, you can only spend £100 a night or something on a hotel, and there's no hotel available for less than £100. And so the booking system just won't let you book no matter how much you try. And then you have to go to get sign off from somebody very senior. And then, do the systems communicate with each other? And, all of a sudden you're spending hours on something that should just take seconds. I mean, Stephane, I want to come to you talking about the kind of maybe bigger picture about maybe that story about staff management that we've both been talking about. I mean, is that something that you see as a big pain point?
Yes, and I think it was a pain point that the founder decided to solve as a major problem, first for the CFO, but also for all the staff and user experience. And if we talk about the financial infrastructure perspective, I think the pain point we want to manage is about payment visibility, real-time data, and control, because at the end of the day, you are talking about the money of the company. So it has been the vision of Spendesk, how to improve these services, how to be on real time, to optimize working capital for the company, but at the same time, to bring the best experience for your customer, with your staff, internal customers, and to optimize this process. So real-time, efficiency, and control are the key three levers of spend management, and to optimize the day-to-day activity of your CFO, who can focus on strategy and cash flow at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's just going to save a lot of time, right, from everybody, and therefore money. Let's elevate the discussion a little bit to the level of the wider problems that CFOs have, right? I want to go to you first, Joëlle. Like, what are you seeing are the biggest problems? I guess managing time is one of them. What else do you see?
Yeah, I think some of the things that Stephane already talked about, right? Really having real-time visibility in what's actually being spent, and therefore budgeting clearly, right? That's not possible if you have no real-time insights, if you have no control of what your employees are actually spending on those travels. And so even with my example, I could have come back with a 10,000 euro expense or 3,000, but that's really hard to budget for upfront. And so I think that's really one of the biggest issues that we're seeing, is this real-time insight and the control that is just generally lacking if you're not really working with an automated system and a spend management tool that can help you budget. Budget better.
Yeah. And Stephane, is there a cost pressure situation as well that CFOs are in? I mean, there's this statistic here, which I think is pretty relevant, that more than half of SMEs surveyed say they feel pressure to cut the frequency of business travel trips by like 10 to 20%. So, they're always having to think about how to cut costs.
Yes, definitely. And if we are in a specific macroeconomic environment, so cost control is back, but at the same time, we have to grow, we have to adapt, and the company has to bring innovation. So if you stop to travel, you cannot open a new geography. We know we are in a new environment also, how the trade activity will change in the future. So company want to invest, but they want to be in control. And I think what is important, and if we look our purpose for Spendesk, it is liberate business and employee to do their best work is also to be very focused. So to bring this control, but also to give this freedom to manage your budget, to be in control of real-time investment also, because at the end of the day, each department manage their return of investment of initiative is critical. So it's more critical for the company, is also to keep focus on their cash flow, to optimize priority. Also, that's an opportunity for the company. And also is to bring efficiency in the organization, because you can review some process, you can be more in control, and you can invest on other opportunity for growth. So control your cost, get real data. Reconciliation is key. So I think the speed for reconciliation for CFO, for the investors is critical, and particularly for digitalized company, for high growth company, it's a key support. So that's critical to bring all this innovation in the product, and that's why we need to get very strong platform infrastructure on the payment to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll definitely come to that in a sec. I mean, are you seeing also like a particular type of customer, like a type of CFO that's getting it right? You mentioned high growth businesses and digital startups.
It's a very good question, and it depends on geography.
Right.
If you go to the UK, it's a very digital, and Nordics, for example, and digital CFO. They have to continue to grow. They have to manage their growth agenda. They are looking for profitability, so cost control. But at the same time, they have to prepare their scale agenda. So they know they have to improve their process, and digitalization is critical. So if you bring a solution, you can save money and take the best of the time with your people to do something with high value. That's very important for the company. In France and Germany, the market is different, because the company are coming from, there is a lot of industry. They are not the same level of maturity, but if we look particularly on the digital company, tech company, now they are key pioneer in terms of spend management and digitalization of their business. And this is a new generation of CFO. They know they have to do it. And what is very important, they do it from the beginning, because you can build your infrastructure, you can build your process, you can integrate with your financial services solution that we can bring, spend management now, but also for all the other activities where critical procurement, to manage your process, and also to have a full integration with the ERP to make reconciliation with your accounting system.
Awesome. Joëlle, are you seeing that same kind of thing? I mean, it's interesting because you mentioned that in Germany, for example, credit cards are not so culturally there, or maybe they weren't a few years ago.
Getting there, but I think when I think about what a CFO keeps up at night, I think also rising costs, right? I mean, we talk now a lot around real-time cash visibility, but generally, costs are rising. So just having a good understanding of when are you actually receiving the money back, right? Or general, like, it's being able to predict what the receivables are for the company, like that's really important, specifically if you're, fast scaling. So I would definitely echo that from an SME's perspective. But when I think further of just the CFO and SMEs in general, and specifically perhaps these business owners as a whole, they're also really worried about access to capital specifically, right? I think the way that small, medium businesses are underserved by the traditional banking system, and specifically also when it comes to corporate card spending, right? That are often very unflexible and, one budget setup. This is where we see SMEs really struggling, because they just simply don't have that same type of access to the banking services that a large corporate has.
And I will add also, we are looking to expand also in terms of to be about cross-border.
Yeah.
And we can get you a global platform. We can help you because you have different tax accounting scheme for every country. So we like company who are developing their business cross-border, because you can bring this solution. So that's why to get global partners to understand the local market, specificity in terms of tax, in terms of accounting is critical. So high growth company, the new CFO, very digitized process, it's critical, but also if we can help to develop cross-border business, is critical for us.
Awesome. And on that note, we're going to take a quick pause here for a quick break. In part 2 of this episode, we're going to be taking a closer look at how embedded finance can solve some of these problems, so don't go anywhere.
So, you just started using LinkedIn Premium. Now what? Well, on your Premium company page, you noticed around 7.5 times more page engagement and 5 times more page views. Well done. And now, new clients are messaging you. All because you're using LinkedIn Premium, which helps you get the business growth you want. Think big, small business. Think big. Start your free trial at linkedin.com/premium small business. That's linkedin.com/premium small business.
Cybersecurity is the top concern for UK businesses, according to Vanta's recent State of Trust report. But whether you're a startup founder or an experienced security professional, Vanta is here to help. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs across over 35 frameworks, like ISO 27001 and SOC 2, centralize security workflows, complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Join over 9,000 global companies like Flow Health, Synthesia, and Alica Bank, who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/insider. That's VANTA.com/insider for $1,000 off.
Welcome back to the show, where we've just been discussing some of the problems facing CFOs when it comes to managing travel and spending in particular. In this half, we're going to be taking a closer look at how this partnership between Adyen and Spendesk is helping to make life easier for CFOs when it comes to tackling these problems. So we started, I think, to touch there a little bit on the different types of, I don't know, like platforms or channels where businesses are transacting, where they're doing business, which leads us quite nicely, I think, into embedded finance is where they are, right? So Joëlle, what's your perspective on the importance of like embedded platforms where businesses can transact?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is that these businesses are using their SaaS platforms to manage almost their entire business, right? We talked earlier about the CFO and their like importance of having visibility into their budget and into what their employees are spending, etc. But also even broader than that, in the vertical SaaS world, if you think about, I mentioned it earlier, right? Restaurants that are now leveraging a SaaS platforms to really run their business end to end, and those SaaS platforms are creating almost, I'm going to say it, one-stop shops for these small businesses. And I think bringing financial services in is now just a must-have. It's critical for those businesses to, of course, to sell and to get paid. But they also, in the end, in the background, have to manage their finances, right? They have to get access to capital, or they also have expenses that their team needs to expense towards their business owner when they go and run the errands for the business, for the restaurant, as an example. And so I think financial services are really becoming a critical part, and SaaS platforms and platforms as a whole really have an opportunity of making it a holistic experience and all-encompassing offering essentially for those SMBs, so that there's a no-brainer for these businesses that they would just trust that platform to help them with financial services rather than going to a traditional bank.
That's awesome. I mean, you mentioned vertical SaaS there, which I think is in many ways like an evolution of embedded finance, right? Which is very cool. I mean, Stephane, what's your view? Are you a vertical SaaS in some ways as Spendesk, or are you thinking about the verticalization of what you do?
Yes, of course we are vertical SaaS, and I think embedded finance is transforming the way SMBs is doing business, and particularly travel management. Why? Because they are integrating payment capabilities now directly into their booking and expense management workflow. So automation, new workflow, more efficiency, more control, more visibility about the data, and of course, at the end of the day, about the cash flow. So it's embedded finance. It's critical for this SMB who used to get different partner, banking, not banking partners. Now with embedded finance, they can get end-to-end process and to be very efficient. This integration bring a better control. I think that's the first thing, but improve this visibility, real time tracking and reconciliation for the accounting department. We can focus on other tasks where it's more strategic, more business oriented. So that's also a lot of efficiency you bring to your business. And at the end of the day, that's a more efficient process for you as a traveler, as a staff, and for the CFO to manage positive things with the growth of the company and the investment for the future.
Awesome. I'd love to spend the next few minutes talking about the partnership between Spendesk and Adyen. And Joëlle, I'd love to come to you first, because I suppose the first thing to say is that I don't think many people realize that Adyen is a bank. You're a bank.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an incredible story in of itself. I mean, I'd love maybe if you just for a couple of minutes to talk about like that story and what it means to be a bank.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the way that we've built Adyen from the ground up back then, right, many years ago, was always with the ambition in mind that we want to provide the highest service levels for our customers, our merchants, right, our platforms. And so we've always built everything in-house. That's how our founders really, like I said, created the company. And we therefore started out being a gateway, and we realized, hey, in order for us to increase these service levels, the authorization rates, etc., of our merchants, again, can't we go a step further and actually become a license acquirer? So we got our acquiring licenses. And with all of those developments, we took on the majority of the value chain that makes a transaction successful nowadays. And we really, I think, stand by that, yes, you can partner along that value chain with different partners or do parts of that yourself. But if you own that entire value chain, you're cutting out dependencies on partners that might slow you down or that decrease the performance. And that's not something we were aiming for. And so with then having our acquiring licenses, we realized also that, of course, we are continuing to process billions and billions of euros and dollars through our platform. And we're also still, needing to pay out to our customers all of those funds that we're processing now as an acquiring bank. And so we thought, okay, isn't there an opportunity for us to take on more, to really say, can we take on more control? And again, therefore, cut out dependencies that we continue to have with traditional banks that were settling our merchants. And so in 2017, we were granted our banking license here in Europe. And now since 2023, we've also have a branch license in the US, and also, of course, with Brexit, had our license extended into the UK. And that enabled us not only to cut out these dependencies to the traditional banking partners we had, and therefore, again, gain much more control, speed, and reliability for our merchants. But of course, it also led us to this conversation today, which is extending into financial products. And specifically, we do that for platforms like Spendesk, and really always staying in the background and therefore enabling our platforms to really reach into the SME world that we otherwise would not interact directly.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, and that's a great cue. And Stephane, what does it mean to work with a regulated bank like Adyen? How does that help you?
It's helped us, but we had some experience. And maybe to come back to the background, when we make the decision to replace our previous BaaS partners, there were a lot of complexity. First, we have a license in Europe, and we develop a platform, so we were able to manage. In the UK, as you said, post-Brexit, we need to get a partner, and a partner who can operate. Okay, it's very important to get a license and to keep a license. It's a day-to-day work, and that's a trust you build with your regulator and on market. So when we make this decision to replace our previous BaaS partner, we had a RFP, and we look for a partner who have different criteria, and the first one was the track record. And if we look on Adyen, if we look at the track record on the payment capability, acquiring one of the best companies in the world, okay? It was a challenge to say, okay, let's start something new with Adyen on the banking, financial product, and issuing. But the track record, the discussion we had with the customer of Adyen was very important in this process. Why? Because the professionalism of the team, the fact that they have a good relationship and they have the license to operate in the UK, very important. A couple of years ago, there was a lot of FCA restriction for a lot of BaaS partners, not for Adyen, so it was important criteria. I think their engagement and their capabilities to deliver a project, to build a platform in 4 months, it was not only on paper, it was not only a commercial agreement, but we did it.
That's incredibly
fast.
Last
13 weeks, I come from the banking industry.
Yeah.
I can tell you to build a platform, payment platform in a regulated environment in less than 3 months is just impressive. So the engagement on senior management, but all stakeholders in the organization of Adyen has been very impressive. From the commercial discussion to the delivery and project team, we have been able to re-platform and to less than 13 weeks to migrate our customer in the UK, because we're in the UK market in 5 to 6 weeks. So it's very in process, and that's the engagement and that's the relationship. Also, to build this relationship was critical, and we were looking for global partners. Okay, we were looking for a partner to scale, not to copy paste from the past. Is to say what is the best partner for tomorrow, but more important for the day after. So as you said, Joëlle, there is a license in Europe. They operate in Europe, in the UK post-Brexit, but also in other geography. And it was an important criteria for us, a partner, to be able to scale and to prepare the future in terms of growth for our payment service, financial services, for our payment capabilities to better serve our global customer, because we have more and more global customers who are looking for that kind of solution.
I mean, if I may chime in a little bit there as well, I think what makes the partnership unique is this ambition to build together, right? And to really say, hey, this is not a sprint, although it was a bit of a sprint. But of course, also, let's build for the long term, right? Let's really build a partnership based on a strategic long-term objective, which is scaling into other markets, building a long-term relationship. And I think that makes also the relationship between our teams very special.
That's amazing. And if you were to look into the future, I mean, Joëlle, just to come to you on a kind of a closing word, what is the kind of thing that you would like to see in the next year, 2-3 years, partners like Spendesk kind of do and utilize the services that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Spendesk, it starts with issuing, right?
Yeah.
But I think for many SaaS platforms that we work with, it starts with one product. But very soon we're going to see, I think, other products also being part of the portfolio, be it a bank account, right? That would help, again, quicker reconciling even within the Spendesk system, and the SME that is working with it really only interacts in the Spendesk platform day in, day out, right? We always want to stay in the background. Adyen always wants to stay as invisible as possible, and therefore Spendesk is the one that really creates that relationship with their customers. And I think from there on, I'm very sure that also other products like lending will become, really all-encompassing in these SaaS platforms. So we see this very often. It starts with payments oftentimes. In this case, it is issuing. And then from there, really, there is an expansion into other financial services, because the value that the SaaS platform can bring to the SME and the trust that they're building through all of the, through knowing them so well, right? Understanding their workflow so well, that's the opportunity that I think SaaS platforms have and should go after.
Got it. It's very interesting. I'd like to pivot the conversation now, actually, to AI, because we're at a banking conference. Everybody is talking about AI. We can't not talk about it, but of course there are some very, very interesting things going on. So I'd like to get both of your perspectives, because I think both businesses are doing some very interesting things, and agentic and generative AI more broadly does have some very interesting use cases in things like cash management, expense management, travel, and everything like that. So Stephane, I'm going to come to you first to talk about maybe what Spendesk is doing in AI. I mean, we have, like I said, we're customers of Spendesk. We're aware of some of the automations that you have. You guys have been doing it for some years now. But what do you see coming up in the future?
Yes. AI is not new for Spendesk. I think we have been building AI solution and automation now for years. We have in average 15 projects to ensure that we can bring more automation, more efficiency, more control. If you start from OCR of your ticket to be more efficient, we have all this accounting reconciliation criteria. So each time we can bring automation, efficiency for your internal user, staff, but also for the accounting team, we are working on AI solutions. So that's the future, more automation, operational efficiency, and also to bring more control. Okay, more control, because we are also on a payment industry, so we have to manage also in terms of fraud, in terms of regulatory requirements. So that's a priority from an AI perspective. So we embed the AI in every project. We invest recently with partners. We also ask every team to put some objective in terms of efficiency, so the cultures, to ensure that the day-to-day, not only for the job of the Spendesker, but also for the customer, how we can bring AI solution. We had recently a hackathon with our product engineering team who were thinking about the solution. So we are developing and we'll do more and more AI. We are more AI product. It's part of the automation of our spend management, procurement, and AI solution now is part of our growth agenda from innovation and development of solutions for the customers.
Amazing. And Joëlle, we know that Adyen had a session earlier today at the conference all about AI. And your new Uplift product. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah. My colleague Carlo was just on stage talking about Uplift, but actually I think one thing he said, that I do remember as well is that we actually built our data platform 8 years ago, right? Our big data platform. We're obviously processing payments for so many different merchants across the globe.
Yeah.
And all of our data, our payments data at some point might have been touched by the Adyen platform. And so I think what all of our merchants have in common is that they really want to maximize conversion. They want to tackle fraud, and they want to create a seamless customer experience, because all of our shopper expectations, they're just constantly rising, right? We want to pay as frictionless as possible. And so these three components is what our merchants constantly will have to juggle. Do I now optimize for cost? Do I, want to invest a little bit more and therefore increase the conversion? Do I want to bring in additional payment methods to make it more seamless, but therefore my costs increase, et cetera, et cetera? And so we have, of course, a modular setup of different products that we've built throughout the past years, many, many years already. But now we've created a AI product on top of that will actually optimize the entire funnel end to end for the merchant, and will essentially, give certain optimization recommendations based on looking at the, again, entire funnel without really needing to sacrifice one or the other, like I said, cost, fraud, etc.
Got it. So it can maybe route a payment to the most relevant method, right?
As an example, exactly.
Yeah.
Or to a debit option and over a credit option as an example, right? Really to also there decrease costs, which also is, of course, something top of mind for CFOs. So.
Yeah.
Maybe a concrete example also of how we develop new AI power feature from the last years. Just a number is on a monthly basis. Now we can predict and pre-fill more than 2 million accounting fields for our customers. So the efficiency to do your spend management, your process also is based on this experience. As you said, we have a lot of data. So every month we're improving the process to be more efficient. It's like in one-click solution for users. So that's a typical example. We make the life easier with the right level of control, because it's not only to pre-fill, anticipate, but and predict the future in terms of spend management, but also to have the right control at the same time. So for the CFO, it's a lot of savings and efficiency for the team.
Because I guess with all those data points, you can match transactions. Is the transactions coming in? You say, well,
we can see also in terms of merchant what kind of experience. So it's a lot of prediction also, and this data can be used also for procurement. So that's why we are doing that procurement to pay solution, because we have this experience on the spend. We know also the supplier that's working with our customers, and we can inform our customers. So yes, the way we use supplier maybe it's not optimized, and all this procure to pay solution, all this data point, it's a big advantage for our customer who are integrating all the services. We have been very strong in spend management, going to procure to pay through the new AI feature. It's a plus for our customers, definitely.
That's amazing. I just want to get your opinions, the both of you. Recently there have been a lot of announcements around agentic payments. So Visa, MasterCard, I think Stripe have an SDK kit, when an agent can go and initiate a payment and complete the payment pretty much autonomously on its own. Do either of you see a world maybe where an agent very soon can come in and execute transactions? I mean, Joëlle, I'll come to you first. Is that something that you think is... Because I know there's a lot of buzz about it, but, I have spoken to various different banks in various different countries, and a lot of them say, look, we love this tech. It seems very interesting, but, I don't know. Maybe not now.
Yeah, I think the way that we generally look at these type of new developments, right, is... what do our merchants say? What do our customers want? What do their customers want? Are they actually asking for this? And I think that's also how we're building our product, and how we're therefore, publishing or bringing up these new innovations into our product portfolio or not. And so I think with agentic commerce, that's an element we are keeping tabs on. We're going to see, will this actually develop? But the question is, and Carlo just said it, will this actually, create consumer adoption in the next couple of years? And I think that's what we're going to continue to try and see. And it doesn't look like, I think the judges are still out for that one.
What do you think, Stephane? Not quite yet.
I think we're in a trusted business, and trusted is first with your regulators and after with your customers. Okay, so I think because we are coming from the same innovation background, I think it's important to see what's going on, because today the change, the transformation of this world is almost every week. So we need to look, but don't forget, this trust environment. Our customer, we manage the money of the customers, we manage their critical process for their business, and at the same time, you need to ensure that you build the trust with your regulator. So look what is possible, look this transformation, adapt, but listen first your customer if it's a need. Listen also the macroeconomic, geographic, regulatory change with coming in this world, and see what will be the future on the payment. So be curious, but at this stage, continue to build a trusted business for your customer and for your regulators.
Yeah, very, very cool. Joëlle, I want to end on capital, because you've mentioned it a couple of times, and I think it's very interesting from an embedded finance point of view. And the things that you are able to do as a bank ultimately ends up with being able to lend, being able to sort of pipeline credit into some of those situations or pain points that you've flagged. What are some of the use cases, or some of the more kind of near-term use cases that you're seeing for capital?
Yeah. We were just talking so much about data, and the whole thing in my head, I was like, this is the opportunity for those SaaS platforms, right? To extend a loan for the small, medium business that, is in need of some urgent cash, for example. And so I'm going to go back to the restaurant example, because I think it's the one that we can all relate to very much, right? We all know how thin the margins are, how critical cash sometimes can be for those businesses in order to stay above water. And so what SaaS platforms can do when they already process the payment of a restaurant on a daily basis, we're starting to gather all of that processing data and understand how is that business running, right? What seasonalities do they have? When are people typically coming in? When do they see a spike in sales versus where are the bit more the lower times where not so many people are coming to eat in the restaurant, right? And all of that data gives us insight into how well the business is doing, and therefore also an opportunity to say, okay, we would feel comfortable extending a loan on behalf of the SaaS platform. So again, we're always staying in the background, and I think you just also mentioned trust as that big piece, right? So the SaaS platform is the one presenting that loan to the restaurant, saying, hey, I know you, I understand what you're struggling with maybe today, and maybe 10,000 euros would help you to get through the next couple of days, or pay your employees, or pay for a coffee machine, or whatever might have been broken just recently, right? It's these kind of real-time use cases. We've recently had one where a restaurant wanted to extend their terrace with additional seating and wanted to get additional heaters, as an example, right? And it's these little expansion opportunities that small, medium businesses don't have access to when they would go to a traditional bank. They would need to write a business plan, right? They would need to potentially send out an application that's many pages long that would then take several weeks in order to get, approved. And so all of those things would actually completely fall away, because the SaaS platform is already gathering all of that data. We do that in the background. We're underwriting them together, and therefore, they're already eligible after a few months of processing for us to say, hey, we would be open of giving you a loan.
After just a few months, that's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible. Stephane, what do you think?
I think this world of free capital is over, at least. It will be more difficult, and particularly for the SMB mid-market company. They have to go fast. There is opportunity. I think the way they also manage a relationship with their legacy bank differently. So I think there is place for new solution. I think it's coming also from the regulatory change with open banking, open finance solution. You can get almost instant payment. But I think the key question is, what is your customer need? You need to know the ACP of your customers. We're talking about the SMB mid-market. It's more short-term solution. If we look on the market, what they need is, for example, factoring solution. They have to manage the cost of invoice, to wait, and it depends on the geography also. You have some specific needs. We know in Europe, debit cards can be a standard, but in other country, charge card help also to optimize your working capital. So you need to understand what is the need, specific requirements in the countries, the complexity both for you and the customers, and you can bring short-term solution. And I think that's the future for financial product, at least in terms of embedded finance.
That's fascinating. The opportunity is big, but also, as you say, those needs are so diverse across countries, business types, capital requirements. The term of those requirements varies so much. Yeah. And on that note, I would like to thank you both. This has been a fascinating discussion, and that wraps us up. So thank you both for joining me. Let's talk a little bit about where people can find out more about the both of you. Joëlle.
I mean, feel free to connect on LinkedIn. Otherwise, of course, feel free to reach out on adyen.com and yeah.
Amazing. And Stephane?
Same for me. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. And I think all Spendesk here would be happy to talk about the product, about the experience, and yes, to building the future of the payment on the SaaS and with a global partner like Adyen. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, David and Joëlle, for this podcast today.
Awesome. And not unsurprisingly, you can also find me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening. If you like what you've heard, follow our podcast and don't forget to leave us a review. It helps us to make it better and helps others find the show. As always, if you want to join the conversation, find us on social media. Just search for 11FS or Fintech Insider or email podcast@11fs.com. Thanks very much and goodbye.
David and Goliath is a story we know well at 11FS. As a challenger consultancy, we're often going head-to-head with household names that have far bigger headcounts than us. And once again, that was the case at the 2025 British Bank Awards. And the result? We took home Consultancy of the Year for the 5th time. Another win for David. What makes this victory even more special is that it was voted for by our clients, the people and businesses who see the impact of our work firsthand. Because in our world, scale doesn't equal impact. And that's exactly how we outpace giants like Accenture and Capgemini. So if you're looking to partner with an award-winning team of fintech consultants helping to build the next generation of financial services, get in touch. Visit 11fs.com/ventures to find out more. Cybersecurity is the top concern for UK businesses, according to Vanta's recent State of Trust report. But whether you're a startup founder or an experienced security professional, Vanta is here to help. Businesses use Vanta to establish trust by automating compliance needs across over 35 frameworks like ISO 27001 and SOC 2, centralize security workflows, complete security questionnaires up to 5 times faster, and proactively manage vendor risk. Join over 9,000 global companies like Flow Health, Synthesia, and Alica Bank, who use Vanta to manage risk and prove security in real time. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/insider. That's VANTA.com/insider for $1,000 off.